All right, so now let's actually use what we just learned and write the code out. And the first thing that I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to make the text even bigger, because now I'm not as wide in a sense that I don't have all of the comments that I had before. And I'm also going to turn on the dark mode because I really like it not being so bright. You see the colors change a little bit, but I don't think it's a big problem. We can even go further also with the font size. Well, 25 seems to be the biggest font size that I can select, but that's good enough, I think. So, as I said earlier, we need to add our code within those curly brackets, okay? So that means in my case, in line 5, and obviously I could get rid of the first 2 lines as well. I could really put it into the 3rd line here. Now you see that I'm using an indentation here, using the tab button in order to make the code a little more readable. You can see that there are indentations here. There are actually 2 indentations here, and that is based on how this IDE works. But in the other IDE that we're going to use, we're going to have 1 indentation button click will be enough. So 1 tab button click, you can try it out. But what I'm going to focus on now is to actually print something on the screen. So let's get started by using system.out.println and then parentheses, quotations. And you can see that when I open my bracket, my parentheses, I get the closing bracket straight away as well. The same goes for the quote. So you can see the IDE, so this software is taking care of that part for me. I don't have to type it out manually myself. And then I'm entering the text that I want to display. So I'm going to say hello, world, and exclamation mark. Now, one important thing that I mustn't forget, as I said, is this semicolon here at the end. If I don't have that, I'm going to run into problems. Okay, so it's really important to have that semicolon here, otherwise my code would not work. And we're going to try out a few errors that we can run into in the next videos. But let's now click on this run button here, this play button at the top, and that will then execute my code. And it says hello, world. So it says output. So what we just did is we created a software that displayed something on the screen. Now, in this case, it's really just the output that is displayed inside of this little console, inside of this area right here. But it is where we're going to do most of our work, because we don't have the visual features yet in the sense of a graphical user interface, which means something where we can drag stuff around or press buttons or anything like that. That is something that we're going to build later on. But for now, we're always going to just use the output from our console in order to understand the basics of the Java programming language. And that is just a common approach in learning it, because all of the cooler looking stuff would take way too long to understand and would make it significantly more complicated. Now you can see that in this input output, there are a few things that you can change. So one being the JDK, so the Java Development Kit. And you can see that there are a few versions that we can select in order to run our code. And once the latest version will come out, which will be JDK 2020 0.0, which should come out, I think, in a month or so. But I still decided to record this course already, because there's not really that much of a change with every single new version coming out, at least not for the basics. Okay, we're still talking about the absolute basics, and only when we are getting to the more advanced topics later on, that's when new versions introduce new features that might actually have an impact on parts of the course. So no matter what version you will see here, what we're going to learn in the first, I would say 15 days or so, even longer, will have no changes required whatsoever. Okay, so this course will still be up to date in that regard. Okay, so then I have this input arguments that would go way too far at this point, and this stdin inputs, I would say this is way too much for the current point of your experience with the Java programming language. What you really should focus on is just what we just did here. And this was our system.out.println or print line. This ln stands for line, so it's a short version. So print a line saying hello world, and then a semicolon, and then it executes whatever comes after. So if I were to copy this line here and now paste it underneath here, then it would say hello world once again. So let me change that, and let me click on not now. So if I changed world to my name, and you should try the same, hello Dennis, and I run it, JDoodle executes it, and it says hello world, and then it says hello Dennis, and I'm going to say hello student. Okay, and let me run it again, and we will see it says hello student. Now, what's really important is that we don't forget the semicolon at the end, and that we follow the syntax, that it is written exactly the same as it is here. Now, in the next video, I'm going to go a little more into what all of this other code is, but in order to understand these keywords that we're using here, you need to go a lot further into the course, and we're going to go into what classes are and so forth after roughly 2 weeks of this course. So for day 14 or 13, something like that. Okay, so thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.